The galaxy mocked Earth for a millennium, oh wow. Now they tremble in fear Part 2. 3 months had passed since the millennial assembly. Captain Han Doyen was no longer just a captain. They promoted him to Commodore and gave him command of Earth's defense fleet. 12 ships. Old ships. The kind of ships that barely worked. The Galactic Council allowed humanity to keep them for ceremonial purposes. They were a joke, like everything else about Earth's military. Doyen stood on the bridge of his flagship, the EDFS Guardian. The ship was 40 years old. Its engines made strange noises. Its weapons were outdated by 3 generations. But today Doyen received orders that changed everything. "Sir, encrypted message coming through," said Lieutenant Park Seogen, the communications officer. He was young, barely 25. "It's using the special codes." Doyen took the datapad. The message was short. "Report to coordinates Beta 79, alone. Tell no one." The coordinates were outside the Sol system, in empty space where nothing should exist. "Set course," Doyen ordered, "and keep this between us." Meanwhile, Dr. Kang Mirai received her own orders. A military shuttle arrived at her laboratory in Seoul without warning. 2 soldiers in black uniforms escorted her aboard. They wore no insignia. They said nothing. The shuttle took her beyond Mars, past Jupiter, into the Kuiper Belt where Earth kept mining stations. But they did not stop at any station. They flew deeper into the darkness, until they reached something that should not be. They're a research station, massive, hidden, protected, by technology that made it invisible to alien sensors. "Welcome to Project Revelation," said a woman in a white lab coat. Her name tag read Dr. Song Yoonji. She looked very young, maybe 28, but her eyes held the intensity of someone who had seen incredible things. "What is this place?" Mirai asked. "The place where we learned the truth about our enemies," Song replied. She led Mirai through corridors filled with laboratories. In each lab, Mirai saw things that made her stomach turn. Alien bodies. Not alive, but preserved for study. Every species that sits on the council. We have studied them all. Their biology. Their weaknesses. Every time they offered us medical assistance, we were learning from them. Every time we exchanged cultural information, we were building databases. For 500 years, Mirai. 500 years of espionage hidden as cooperation. Mirai felt dizzy. "Why show me this now?" "Because Phase 4 begins in 3 days, Song said. "And we need you to upload the final data to the fleet." At the coordinates in deep space, Commodore Doyen's ship emerged from faster-than-light travel. His sensors showed nothing. Empty space. He checked the coordinates 3 times. This was correct. But there was nothing here. "Sir, we're receiving a proximity alert," Park said. "But sensors show clear space." Then space itself seemed to open, like a curtain being pulled back. And behind that curtain was something impossible. Ships. Hundreds of them. 200 warships, each one sleek and deadly. They made Doyen's Guardian look like a toy. These ships were dark, almost black, with lines that seemed to bend light around them. "Welcome, Commodore Doyen," a voice said over the communications channel. "Welcome to humanity's true fleet." A woman's face appeared on the screen. She was old, perhaps 70, but her eyes were sharp and cold. "I am Director Park Ji-woo. I have been waiting a long time to meet you." Doyen stared at the fleet. His mind could not process what he was seeing. "How? Sit down, Commodore. This will take some time to explain." Director Park told him a story that began 500 years ago during the Contact Wars. When Earth lost, when billions died, when humanity seemed broken forever. "We lost those battles on purpose," Park said. "Not because we wanted to die, but because we needed the aliens to think we were weak. We needed them to stop watching us closely. We needed them to mock us, to ignore us, to believe we were no threat." She explained how during the wars, human scientists had stolen alien technology, how every defeated ship had its computers copied before being destroyed, how captured human soldiers had actually been intelligence officers, recording everything they saw. "In 2547, I was a young officer," Park continued. "I watched the siege of New Beijing. The aliens killed 3 million people in one day. They did it to make a point, to show us what happened to species who resisted." Her voice became hard as steel. "That day I made a promise. Humanity would never be a victim again, but I knew revenge would take centuries, so we built the Obsidian Protocol. The protocol was simple but required impossible patience. Act weak, study the enemy, develop superior weapons, wait for the perfect moment. We built this fleet in secret, Park said, using resources from asteroid mining that we reported as waste. Using technology we developed in hidden stations like the one Dr. Kang is visiting now. Every year, the aliens received reports showing human technology advancing slowly, predictably. They never suspected we were decades ahead in secret. She showed Doyen the ship's capabilities, the phantom drive which let them travel faster than light without leaving any trace, singularity weapons which could collapse matter into tiny black holes ignoring all shields, the Ghost Protocol, stealth technology so advanced that these ships were invisible to every known sensor. The aliens believe they are superior, Park said. They believe their technology is the best in the galaxy. They are wrong. Doyen walked through his new ship, the EDFS Retribution. It was not a ship. It was a weapon. Every system was a generation beyond what the galaxy thought possible. The bridge used neural interfaces letting the crew control the ship with their thoughts. The weapons could fire in patterns too complex for alien computers to predict. How many people know about this? Doyen asked. Fewer than 10,000, Park replied. Out of Earth's 20 billion people. We kept the secret for 5 centuries. We built this fleet using automated factories on asteroids. We trained our crews in secret. We prepared everything. For what? Park smiled. It was not a kind smile. For war, Commodore. For the war that actually matters. For the war we will win. In the research station, Dr. Kang worked with Dr. Song to prepare the final biological data, every species on the Galactic Council, every weakness, every allergy, every vulnerability that 500 years of study had revealed. This feels wrong, Mirai said quietly. We are planning to kill them. No, Song corrected. We are planning to survive. They would have destroyed us if we stayed weak. The galaxy respects only strength, so we became strong. But how many will die? Song looked at her directly. Fewer than died in New Beijing. Fewer than died in the contact wars. And unlike them, we will offer surrender. We will offer peace. But first they must learn to fear us. On Covenant Prime, an alien named Inquisitor Zalvir studied reports at his desk. He was a serpentine creature, long and flexible with 6 eyes that could see in multiple spectrums. He worked for the Sirith Confederacy's intelligence service. For years, something about humanity bothered him. They were too quiet, too accepting of their position. Species that were conquered usually rebelled or broke apart. Humans did neither. He pulled up human cargo manifests from the past century, mining resources going out, basic goods coming in. Everything looked normal. Too normal. The numbers were perfect. In his experience, perfect numbers meant hiding something. He tried to access Earth's communications network. Suddenly, all channels went dead. Complete blackout. What is happening? He whispered. In the Kryn military headquarters, War Consul Braxtor met with his officers. They were planning their next conquest. The Andros sector was weak, easy to take. Sir, we are receiving strange reports, one officer said. Earth has gone silent. All communications are offline. Braxtor laughed. Perhaps the humans finally gave up. Perhaps they are dying out. Either way, it does not matter. They were never important. His officers laughed with him. None of them noticed the aide in the corner. A human woman who had worked at Kryn headquarters for 20 years. None of them saw her smile. Her name was Agent Ko Yura. She had graduated from intelligence training 30 years ago. She spent 2 decades building a false identity, working her way into one of the most secure alien facilities in the galaxy. Waiting, watching, reporting everything. She touched her earpiece, activating a quantum encrypted channel. This is Yura, Phase 3 confirmed. They suspect nothing. Proceed with Phase 4. Confirmed, came the reply. The fleet moves in 3 days. Director Park stood before the assembled ship captains. 200 commanders. 200 ships. The hidden strength of humanity. For 1,000 years they mocked us, she said. Her voice echoed through the hangar. For 500 years we prepared. In 3 days, the galaxy learns what humans become when pushed to the edge. Commander Lee Hyunwoo stood among the captains. He commanded the Retribution. He was 42 years old and had trained for this mission his entire adult life. He looked at the others. All of them wore the same expression: determination, purpose, and something else. Something that burned like cold fire. Not anger, not hatred, something harder than those simple emotions. Humanity has been patient, Park continued, but patience has its limits. They believe we are weak. Let us teach them the truth. In her laboratory, Dr. Kang finished uploading the final data, biological countermeasures for every species. She looked at the information on her screen. The galaxy mocked Earth for a millennium. Oh. Now they tremble in fear. Part 4. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began 3 days after the Kryn defeat. Covenant Prime was now surrounded by fleets from 6 different species. Everyone was afraid. Everyone wanted protection. The station looked like a fortress. Inside the great chamber, tension filled the air like electricity before a storm. Species who had always felt safe now looked at each other with suspicion. If humans could destroy the Kryn so easily, what else were they capable of? Ambassador Shin Yuna walked into the chamber with confidence. She was 44 years old, chosen specifically because she had no sympathy for the Council. Behind her walked Vice Admiral Han Doyen and a full security detail of Obsidian Marines. Their black armor gleamed under the lights. Their presence was a statement. Humanity was no longer asking for permission. The seating had changed. For 1,000 years, Earth sat in the lowest tier, the place reserved for the least important species. Today, humanity occupied the center stage. No one had argued. No one had objected. High Arbiter Velthos tried to maintain control. His crystalline body glowed dimly, showing his stress. This emergency session is called to address humanity's unprovoked attack on the Kryn Dominion. An act of our unprovoked? Shin interrupted. Her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Shall we review the archives, High Arbiter? Shall we discuss the contact wars, where your fleets burned our cities to teach us our place? Shall we talk about the trade embargoes that kept Earth in poverty for centuries? The siege of New Beijing, where 3 million civilians were massacred as a demonstration? The medical experiments on human prisoners that you called research? The Millennium of mockery? She activated a holographic display. Images filled the chamber. Burning cities. Dead children. Humans in chains. Recorded speeches where alien leaders laughed about human inferiority. 1,000 years of crimes, all documented, all preserved. The chamber fell silent. We did not attack. Shin continued coldly. We delivered justice. Chaos erupted. Species began shouting. Some demanded humanity be punished. Others called for negotiation. The smaller species, the ones who had also suffered under the major powers, said nothing. They watched and calculated. Velthos tried to restore order. Even if your grievances are legitimate, this level of violence cannot be. Doyen stood. His military uniform carried the insignia of Vice Admiral now. His presence commanded attention. The Kryn defense fleet numbered 800 ships. We destroyed it with 200. Our casualties were minimal. We have 1,000 more ships in reserve, ships you cannot detect, ships your shields cannot stop, weapons that make your entire military doctrine obsolete. The silence deepened. Fear had a smell, Doyen realized. Even across species barriers, he could sense it in the chamber. You have 3 options, Shin said, her voice like ice. Option 1, accept humanity as an equal power. Full council rights. Full territorial sovereignty. Full reparations for a millennium of oppression. Option 2, attempt to resist and we will dismantle every species that opposes us one by one. Option 3, declare war collectively and learn exactly how much we have been holding back. A delegate from the Viridian Accord, a small species that had always been marginalized, spoke with a trembling voice. Holding back? That demonstration of force was you holding back? Dr. Kang Mirai stood. She had been sitting quietly, but now she activated another display. Scientific data filled the screens. The singularity weapons you witnessed operate at 40% capacity. Our stealth technology has 6 more generations beyond what we deployed. We have biological and chemical countermeasures for each of your species, tailored pathogens designed for your specific biology, and we have identified the precise gravitational frequencies needed to shatter crystalline species. She looked directly at Velthos, his body dimmed with terror. We do not want to use any of this, Kang said, and her voice carried genuine emotion. We want peace. Real peace. Not the false peace where humans are treated as second-class citizens. We want to be partners, not pets. We want cooperation, not domination. Inquisitor Zalvir, the Serpentine intelligence officer, spoke carefully. And if we refuse all 3 options? Doyen's expression hardened. Then we make another demonstration. On another species. You are welcome to volunteer, Inquisitor. The debate raged for hours. Some species wanted to fight. The major powers, the ones who had ruled the galaxy for so long, could not accept this change. Others wanted to negotiate. The smaller species saw an opportunity. With the old power structure shattered, maybe the galaxy could be reshaped more fairly. During a recess, Vel'Thos approached Shin privately. They stood in a corridor away from the crowds. "How long have you been planning this?" 500 years of active preparation, Shin replied. "But we decided our path the day your fleets destroyed New Beijing. You taught us a valuable lesson, High Arbiter. The galaxy respects only strength, so we became strong." "You have destabilized everything," Vel'Thos said, his voice vibrating with anger and fear. "We have liberated everything," Shin corrected. "Your millennium of dominance is over. The question now is whether the next era is built on cooperation or ashes. That choice is yours, not ours." The session ended with a temporary ceasefire. The council would reconvene in 1 month to finalize agreements, but everyone understood that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The old rules no longer applied. As the human delegation prepared to leave, something unexpected happened. Representatives from smaller species approached quietly. The Viridian Accord, the Tulari Collective, the Ausan Republic, species who had also been marginalized, mocked, kept in poverty. "We would like to talk," their leader said quietly, "about alliances, about cooperation, about building something better than what existed before." Shin smiled slightly. It was the first genuine smile anyone had seen from her. Humanity was never the only species they oppressed. We were just the ones who refused to stay down. The smaller species nodded. They understood. For 1,000 years, the major powers had maintained order through fear and military might. Now there was a chance to change things, but not everyone accepted the new reality. In secret chambers deep within Covenant Prime, Vel'Thos met with War Marshal K'Thran of the Sirith Confederacy and other leaders from the traditional powers. "We cannot accept this," Vel'Thos said. His body glowed with barely contained rage. "The humans must be stopped." "How?" K'Thran asked. He was a veteran warrior, scarred from 100 battles. "They destroyed the Kryn fleet in hours. Our intelligence says their technology is generations beyond ours. Then we develop new technology. We study their tactics. We build in secret just as they did. In 10 years, maybe 20, we will be ready. Then we strike back and restore the proper order." The others agreed. Plans were made. Resources would be diverted. Research would begin. In secret, they would build a fleet capable of challenging humanity. None of them noticed the small device hidden in the chamber. A listening device so advanced that their best scanners could not detect it. Every word they spoke was being recorded. Every plan was being transmitted instantly to Earth Command. In her office on Earth, Director Osuman listened to the transmission in real time. She was 43 years old and had trained her entire life to succeed Director Park. Now she held the future of humanity in her hands. She walked to the medical facility where Director Park lay dying. The old woman had lived long enough to see the Kryn defeated. Now at 123 years old, her body was finally giving out. "Director," O said quietly, "they are planning to resist. Building a secret fleet, they will not accept the new order." Park smiled weakly from her bed. "Of course they will not. The powerful never surrender willingly. Did you think one victory would be enough? What should we do? Watch them. Learn their plans. Let them build their fleet. And when they strike, destroy them so completely that no one will ever question humanity's position again." Park coughed, her frail body shaking. "We did not survive 1,000 years of mockery to settle for half measures. If they want war, we will give them war, and this time there will be no doubt about who won." O nodded. She understood. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. Meanwhile, the human delegation established formal relations with 27 species. Former marginalized civilizations who saw humanity as liberators rather than conquerors. They formed the Human Accord, a new alliance based on equality and mutual respect. Together they shared technology. The Viridian Accord gained access to phantom drives, revolutionizing their trade. The Tulari Collective combined their biological expertise with human military technology, creating medical advances that benefited everyone. But humanity did not stop military development. If anything, they increased it. New ships were built. Intelligence networks expanded into every corner of the galaxy. Weapons research continued in hidden stations. We cannot become complacent, Admiral Doyen told his officers. The old powers will not accept change peacefully. We must be ready. On Covenant Prime, Inquisitor Zelvir watched everything unfold. He was one of the few aliens who truly understood what had happened. Humanity had not just won a military victory. They had shattered the psychological foundation of galactic order. The galaxy mocked Earth for a millennium. Oh, now they tremble in fear. Part 5. 1 year had passed since humanity struck at the Kryn Dominion. The galaxy had fractured into 3 groups. The Old Guard consisted of species who still believed in the traditional power structure. The Human Accord included Earth and 27 allied species. The Neutral Coalition waited to see which side would prevail. Earth had transformed. For 1,000 years it had been poor, restricted, mocked. Now reparations from the defeated Kryn and voluntary contributions from Accord allies funded massive reconstruction. New Beijing, once a mass grave, was being rebuilt as humanity's shining capital, a permanent memorial to suffering and survival. President Kwon Minho stood at the memorial site and addressed billions watching across the Accord. "We do not celebrate conquest," he said. "We honor survival. We remember pain, and we build a future where no species suffers as we did." But not all humans agreed with this message. Some wanted more revenge. Some wanted total dominance. Kwon faced opposition from those who believed the old powers should be completely destroyed, not given a chance to rebuild. Under Chancellor Shin Yuna's leadership, the Human Accord offered genuine partnership to member species, technology sharing, equal votes on all decisions, protection from aggression. Former lesser species were experiencing a renaissance. Dr. Song Unji traveled to allied worlds, teaching their engineers, sharing knowledge humanity had hoarded for centuries. On Talara Prime, she spoke to an audience of thousands. "We rose by lifting ourselves," she said. "But we will thrive by lifting each other." The old powers watched this with anger and fear. They had lost their dominance. They could not accept it. Velthos had united the traditional powers in secret. They established a hidden research facility in the void sectors, lawless space beyond anyone's reach. Using stolen data and captured human technology, they worked to reverse engineer Earth's advantages. War Marshal Kuthran, a veteran of hundreds of battles, oversaw the military buildup. "Humanity had 500 years, he told his engineers. "We need only 10. We know what they have now. We know how they think." But human intelligence had infiltrated every level of the Old Guard operation. General An Sujin, head of Earth's intelligence service, watched the enemy build their fleet in real time. Hidden cameras, embedded agents, quantum surveillance that could not be detected. She presented the information to Admiral Doyen. "We can destroy them now. One strike. End the threat before it grows." Doyen studied the intelligence reports. The Old Guard fleet was being built in 3 secret shipyards. They had already completed 50 ships with plans for 500 more. "If we strike first this time," Doyen said slowly, "we become what they were. We prove their propaganda about humans being savage conquerors. And if we wait, then we let them make the mistake of attacking. This time the whole galaxy will see clearly who the aggressors are." 6 months later, the Old Guard launched Operation Restoration, a coordinated strike against 3 Accord worlds. The targets were chosen carefully: Viridian Prime, Talara Minor, and Kepler 4 2b, a human colony of 5 million people. The attack was designed to shatter the Accord and prove humanity could not protect its allies. War Marshal Kuthran personally led the assault on Kepler 4 2b. His fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 200 ships. The newest technology, shields copied from human designs, weapons enhanced with stolen secrets. "Today, we restore the proper order," Kuthran announced to his fleet. "Today, humanity learns they are not in Vincia." His sensors lit up with warnings. 30 human warships decloaked around his fleet. They had been waiting there, invisible, for 3 weeks. Captain Lee Hunwoo's voice came over all channels. "War Marshal Kuthran, you are in violation of the Covenant ceasefire." "Stand down immediately," Kuthran snarled. "You are outnumbered. My fleet is 200 ships against your 30. "You are predictable," Lee replied calmly. "Every move you planned, we anticipated. Every tactic you developed, we countered 3 months ago." "Stand down, never!" Kuthran fired. The battle was swift and brutal. The Old Guard fleet had stolen human technology, but they were working with outdated systems. Humanity had already moved to fourth-generation weapons and defenses. Cathron's improved shields held for 5 seconds. Then the singularity weapons tore through them. His advanced sensors tracked human ships for 10 seconds before the Ghost Protocol evolved to blind them again. His copied tactics failed because humans had designed countermeasures into the stolen technology. At the other 2 targets, the same story unfolded. Accord forces, working together with human coordination, defeated the Old Guard attackers. Viridian ships evacuated civilians using phantom drives while human warships engaged the enemy. Talari defensive systems, enhanced with human technology, held off the assault until reinforcements arrived. Admiral Doyun coordinated all 3 battles from the EDFS Unity, humanity's new flagship. He watched the displays calmly. Every Old Guard move had been predicted. Every contingency had been planned. They learned nothing, he said quietly to his staff. They copied our technology but did not understand the philosophy behind it. They tried to match our strength without understanding our patience. Then something changed. Velthos, watching the battles fail from his command ship far behind the fighting, made a desperate decision. He activated a weapon the Old Guard had developed in secret, a planet killer based on singularity technology, pointed at Earth itself. The weapon fired. A beam of concentrated gravitational force designed to collapse Earth's moon into the planet, causing extinction-level destruction. For a moment, time seemed to stop. This was it, the moment that would define everything. The beam struck Dr. Kang Mirai's experimental shield network. She had spent the last year developing it, working with Dr. Song Yunji, a defensive application of the same gravitational science humanity had weaponized, shields that could counter even singularity weapons. The energy dissipated harmlessly into space. Kang's voice broadcast on all channels. We learned to destroy, but we also learned to protect. Can you say the same, Velthos? Doyen's voice followed, cold and final. High Arbiter Velthos, you just attempted planetary genocide against Earth. Every species in the galaxy watched you try to murder billions of civilians. You have proven exactly what you are. The Old Guard fleet retreated, but it was too late. The galaxy had watched them try to commit genocide. The Neutral Coalition immediately abandoned the Old Guard. Several Old Guard species questioned their own leadership. The war ended not with humanity's victory, but with the Old Guard's complete moral collapse. They had revealed themselves as the very monsters they claimed to oppose. The Galactic Council was permanently dissolved. In its place, the Treaty of New Beijing established the Federation of Free Worlds, a truly democratic union where every species had equal voice, equal rights, equal protection. The Old Guard powers were offered a choice: join as equals, accept monitoring and disarmament, or face complete isolation. Most chose integration. Velthos and his inner circle faced trial for war crimes. On Earth, at the New Beijing Memorial, President Quan stood with Chancellor Xin and Admiral Doyun as the treaty was signed. Representatives from 114 species attended, including former enemies. For 1,000 years we were mocked, Quan said. For 1,000 years we endured, not because we were weak, but because we were patient. Not because we could not fight, but because we understood that lasting peace requires more than victory. It requires transformation. The galaxy watched. The mockery was gone. The fear was fading. In its place, something new was growing. Respect, understanding, hope. 5 years later, the galaxy had changed completely. Admiral Han Doyen, now retired, taught at the Federation Military Academy on Accord Station. His classroom was filled with young officers from dozens of species. Humans sat next to Kryn. Viridian students worked with Luminae, former enemies learning together. The greatest strength, Doyen told them, is not the ability to destroy your enemies. It is the wisdom to turn enemies into allies. Dr. Kang and Dr. Song worked together at the Federation Science Institute. They were developing new technology, not for war, but for exploration. Plans were being made for the first mission beyond the Galactic Rim. Former War Marshal Cathron served his sentence doing reconstruction work on the worlds he had attacked. He worked alongside human volunteers, rebuilding what he had tried to destroy. Slowly, grudgingly, he learned respect. He began to understand what humanity had been trying to teach the galaxy all along. Captain Lee commanded the EDFS Horizon, leading the Federation's Exploration Corps. His crew was the most diverse in history. They had discovered 12 new species, all welcomed as equals into the Federation. On Earth, in her office in New Beijing, Chancellor Xin received a message from the Federation Council. An unknown alien signal had been detected from outside the galaxy. It appeared to be a distress call. The message was millions of years old. Something somewhere was calling. The Federation had to decide. Should they respond? Should they venture beyond everything known? Xin looked out her window. She saw the rebuilt city, the memorial to those who suffered. The ships in orbit representing 100 worlds in genuine cooperation. The galaxy mocked Earth for a millennium. Now they tremble in fear. Part 1. The great station called Covenant Prime floated in the darkness of space. It was built 1,000 years ago when Earth first joined the Galactic Council. Today, representatives from 847 different alien species gathered here for a special celebration. They called it the Millennial Assembly. 1,000 years of peace, they said. 1,000 years of harmony. Captain Han Doyen stood in the human delegation area and watched the ceremony begin. He wore his military uniform, dark blue with silver stars on the shoulders. His face showed many scars from old battles. At 45 years old, he had served Earth's military for his entire adult life. He had seen many things. Most of them were not good. Next to him stood Dr. Kang Mireille, a scientist who studied alien life. She was younger, only 32, and she still believed things could get better. Her black hair was tied back simply, and she wore the white robes of Earth's diplomatic corps. Ambassador Choi Taiwan sat in the front of their section. He was an old man now, nearly 70. He had represented Earth at the Council for 20 years. 20 years of insults, 20 years of watching the aliens laugh at humanity. The ceremony started with grand music. Lights flashed in colors that human eyes could barely see. High Arbiter Velthos took the central platform. He was made of crystal, his body glowing with internal light. When he spoke, his voice came from vibrations in the air itself. "We gather to celebrate 1,000 years of galactic unity," Velthos said. His crystalline body sparkled with what might have been pride. 1,000 years since we brought the humans into our great family. The word "brought" made Doyen's jaw tighten. They had not brought humanity. They had conquered Earth. The contact wars lasted 5 years. Earth lost every battle. 3 billion humans died. The aliens called it integration. One by one, species representatives stood and gave speeches. Each one talked about peace and cooperation. Then they talked about Earth. A massive 6-limbed creature named War Consul Braxtor stood up. He came from the Kryn Dominion, the Council's strongest military power. His armored body was twice the size of a human. 4 of his arms ended in claws. The other 2 held weapons. Humans, Braxtor said, his voice like grinding stones. They nearly destroyed their own world before they even learned to travel between stars. They poisoned their air. They made their water toxic. They fought wars over invisible lines on maps. He paused. And when we arrived, they attacked us with weapons that could not even scratch our ships. Laughter filled the chamber. Not human laughter. The sound of 800 alien species finding humor in humanity's weakness. Doyen's hands formed fists. Mirai touched his arm gently. "Not yet," she whispered. "Not here." Another alien stood. This one looked like a giant bird with purple feathers. Scholar Finara spoke in a soft voice. "We must remember that humans are young, primitive. Their biology is weak. They cannot survive in most atmospheres. They need special protection from radiation. They die so easily." She tilted her head. "We should pity them. They try so hard, but they will never be like us." More laughter. This time it was mixed with sounds that might have been sympathy. Doyen did not know which was worse, the mockery or the pity. Finally, Ambassador Choi was allowed to speak. He walked slowly to the platform. His steps were heavy with the weight of humiliation he had carried for decades. "The people of Earth thank the Galactic Council for another year of peace," Choi said. His voice was steady but empty. "We continue to learn from the great civilizations around us. We work hard to contribute what little we can. We hope that one day we will earn your respect." The words tasted like ashes in Choi's mouth. Doyen could see it in the old man's face. But these were the words that kept Earth safe. These were the words that kept the aliens from deciding humanity was too troublesome to keep alive. Choi returned to his seat. The ceremony continued with celebrations and food. The human delegation was given small portions of simple nutrients. The other species ate exotic meals from worlds across the galaxy. During a break, Doyen walked through the station corridors. He needed air, even if it was recycled station air. He found himself near the military wing, where War Consul Braxtor stood with several other Kryn officers. "Perhaps we should bring back the slave program," Braxtor was saying to his companions. "Humans are weak, yes, but they breed quickly. They could be useful for mining operations or cleaning work." Something inside Doyen broke. He stepped forward. "We are not slaves," Braxtor turned. His 4 red eyes focused on the human. "Oh, the little human has anger. How adorable." He moved closer, his massive form towering over Doyen. "You lost every battle in the contact wars, every single one. Your weapons were toys. Your ships were paper. Your soldiers died like insects. And you speak to me as if you have pride?" Doyen did not move. He looked up at the alien warrior. "A millennium," he said quietly. 1,000 years. And you still think you know what humans are." Before things could escalate, Mirai appeared. She stepped between them smoothly. "War Consul, please forgive Captain Doyen. The ceremony has been emotional for all of us." She bowed, playing the role of the apologetic human. Braxtor snorted, a sound like rocks tumbling. "A millennium and you still have not learned your place." He turned and walked away, his officers following. Mirai pulled Doyen back toward their quarters. "You cannot do that," she hissed. "Not yet." "We are so close." "Close to what?" Doyen asked. But he knew. They all knew. That night, the human delegation gathered in their small quarters. The rooms were old and poorly maintained. The station's best areas were reserved for important species. Humans were not important. Ambassador Choi poured glasses of whiskey, brought all the way from Earth at great expense. It was one of the few luxuries they allowed themselves. "Another year," he said quietly, raising his glass. "Another humiliation." Doyen did not drink. He stood at the window looking out at the stars. "How much longer?" he asked. Mirai checked her datapad. It was specially encrypted, using codes the aliens did not know humans possessed. A message glowed on the screen in Korean characters. "Project Singularity. Oh. Phase 3 complete." She looked up at Doyen and Choi. Her eyes held something that had not been there before. Not hope, something harder, something cold. "Not long now," she said. Outside the window, the stars shone in the darkness. They had watched over Earth for billions of years. They had seen species rise and fall. They had witnessed war and peace, triumph and tragedy. Soon, they would witness something else. Soon the galaxy would learn what happens when you mock humanity for 1,000 years. Soon, they would understand what humans become when they are pushed to the edge of extinction and choose not to die but to adapt, to evolve, to prepare. The mockery would end, and the trembling would begin. But tonight the humans played their roles. They bowed. They apologized. They accepted their place at the bottom of galactic society. Tonight the aliens still believed the lie. Tomorrow would be different. Ambassador Choi finished his whiskey and set down the glass. "Get some rest," he told them. "We have meetings all week. More speeches to endure. More laughter to ignore." Doyen nodded and moved toward his sleeping quarters. But before he entered, he looked back at Mirai. "Phase 3? He asked quietly. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who has waited a very long time for something. "Phase 3, she confirmed, "which means Phase 4 comes next. And Phase 4 is?" "The end of hiding," Mirai said. "The beginning of everything else." The door closed behind her, leaving Doyen alone with his thoughts. Outside, Covenant Prime continued its eternal orbit, hosting the species who ruled the galaxy. They celebrated their power. They enjoyed their superiority. They mocked the weak humans. None of them noticed the countdown that had just begun. None of them understood that the humans they despised had spent 500 years preparing for this moment. The mockery had lasted a millennium. The reckoning would be swift. The galaxy mocked Earth for a millennium. Yo. Now they tremble in Fear Part 3. The Kryn homeworld was beautiful in its own terrible way. 5 planets formed the core of the Kryn Dominion. Each one held billions of people. Today, all 5 worlds celebrated a military victory. They had conquered another sector. Another group of smaller species had been brought under Kryn control. War Consul Braxtor stood on a platform in the capital city. Around him, thousands of Kryn citizens cheered. Above him, hundreds of warships flew in formation, their engines creating thunder in the sky. Today we celebrate strength, Braxtor announced to the crowds. His voice boomed across the city. For 1,000 years we have kept the peace. We have protected the weak from themselves. We have maintained order in the galaxy. The crowd roared approval. On screens throughout the city, Braxtor's face appeared larger than life. Some species do not understand their place, he continued. The humans, for example. For a millennium, we have tried to teach them humility. They are slow learners, but they learn eventually. They should thank us for our patience. More cheering. More celebration. The parade continued with displays of military power. Thousands of soldiers marched in perfect formation. Massive war machines rolled through the streets. In space above the homeworld, Fleet Commander Draxiel commanded the defense fleet. 800 ships, the largest concentration of military power in this sector. He sat in his command chair, feeling satisfied. The Kryn were unstoppable. His second officer approached. "Commander, we are detecting something strange." "Strange how?" Draxiel asked without concern. "Ships are appearing on our sensors." "Human ships. 200 of them." Draxiel stood up. "Human ships here?" He looked at the display. 200 contacts arranged in perfect attack formation. "How did they get past our early warning systems?" "Sir, they just appeared. No faster than light signatures detected. They are just there." The human fleet had materialized in the heart of Kryn space. Each ship was dark and sleek, like predators made of metal and death. On the bridge of the EDFS Vengeance, Fleet Admiral Yoon Seo-hyun studied her tactical display. She was 58 years old. During the contact wars, she lost her husband, her 2 children, and her parents. For 40 years, she lived for this moment. "All ships battle formation," she ordered. Her voice was calm, steady. Around her, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. "Activate weapons systems. Target their command ships first." "Admiral, they are hailing us," said the communications officer. "Put it through." Draxiel's face appeared on the screen. His 4 eyes were wide with confusion. "Human vessels, you are in violation of Kryn space. You will leave immediately or face destruction." Yoon smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Fleet Commander Draxiel, we have been waiting a long time to have this conversation." "Waiting? You dare threaten us? My fleet has 800 ships. You have 200. Your technology is inferior. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Leave now and I might let you survive." "Your shields," Yoon said softly, "were designed to stop weapons, you understand. You're about to learn that you understand very little." She cut the transmission. "All ships, fire." The human fleet unleashed hell. Singularity weapons fired in synchronized patterns. Each shot created a tiny gravitational collapse, a miniature black hole that existed for a fraction of a second. But that fraction of a second was enough. Kryn shields meant nothing. The weapons did not hit the shields. They created gravitational anomalies inside the ships themselves. Metal crushed inward. Systems collapsed. Crews died instantly as their ships imploded. In the first 30 seconds, 300 Kryn ships simply ceased to exist. Draxiel stared at his displays in horror. His shields were at full power, but they did nothing. His ships were being destroyed without being hit. "How?" he screamed. "This is impossible. Our technology, was never yours." Yoon's voice came over all channels, speaking perfect Kryn. "You took it from the species you conquered. You never truly innovated. You never had to. But we did. We spent 500 years developing weapons you cannot imagine, shields you cannot detect, technology that makes your fleet look like toys." Another wave of fire. 200 more Kryn ships died. "All ships, return fire," Draxiel ordered desperately. The Kryn fleet fired everything. Energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, guided missiles. The space between the fleets lit up like a star-going nova. None of it hit anything. The human ships used the Ghost protocol. They were there, but sensors could not find them. Targeting computers could not lock onto them. The Kryn weapons fired at empty space. Meanwhile, human weapons never missed. Each shot was guided by neural interfaces, computers linked directly to human brains, calculating trajectories faster than any normal system. "Admiral, they are breaking formation," reported the tactical officer. "They are trying to scatter." "Let them run," Yoon said. "Track every ship. Mark every trajectory. None of them reach safety." On the planet below, the celebration stopped. People looked up at the sky. They saw their fleet dying. They saw explosions like new stars being born. They saw their defenders falling. Braxtor watched from his platform. His 4 eyes could see the battle clearly. He saw his pride, his mighty fleet being torn apart by humans. Humans, the weak species, the mocked species, the broken species. This cannot be, he whispered. This cannot be real. Colonel Nam Jinseo led the ground assault. His Obsidian Marines deployed from drop pods that the Kryn sensors never detected. 100 elite soldiers landed at strategic points across the capital city. Nam was 31 years old. He was an enhanced soldier, his body modified with technology that made him faster and stronger than normal humans. But more than that, he was absolutely loyal to the mission. His parents died in New Beijing. He grew up training for this day. The Marines moved through the city like ghosts. They wore armor that bent light, making them nearly invisible. Their weapons fired rounds designed specifically to penetrate Kryn body armor. They struck military command centers with surgical precision. Kryn soldiers never saw them coming. Within 2 hours, the entire planetary defense network was offline. Lieutenant Bayek Jimin monitored communications from the Retribution. He was 26, one of the youngest officers in the fleet. He listened as Kryn commanders called for help, called the Galactic Council, called anyone who might save them. Admiral, they are sending distress signals to Covenant Prime, Bayek reported. Let them, Yoon replied. Let the whole galaxy hear what happens to those who thought humanity was weak. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the result was absolute. The Kryn defense fleet was destroyed, 793 ships lost. The remaining ships surrendered. All 5 core worlds had their military infrastructure in ruins. Planetary shields were down. Defense satellites were gone. Command centers were captured. The Kryn leadership was either dead or in hiding. Human casualties, 47 personnel injured. 3 ships damaged, 0 ships destroyed. Fleet Admiral Yoon stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and broadcast on all channels. Every frequency, every language. Attention, Kryn Dominion. This is Fleet Admiral Yoon Seo-hyun of the Earth Defense Force. The Kryn Dominion is hereby removed from the Galactic Council. Your military is disbanded. Your expansion is ended. Any attempt at retaliation will result in the complete annihilation of your species. Humanity has spoken. We will not be victims anymore. Braxtor sat in the ruins of his command platform. Around him, the city burned. Above him, human ships patrolled the sky like dark angels. A millennium, he said to himself. They waited a millennium. And we never saw it coming. A human soldier approached. It was Colonel Nam. He looked down at the war consul who had mocked humanity so many times. You told us we had not learned our place, Nam said quietly. You were right. Our place is not beneath you. It never was. The human fleet vanished as quickly as it appeared. Using the Phantom Drive, they jumped to unknown coordinates. No trace, no trail. They were gone. On Covenant Prime, chaos erupted. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. High Arbiter Velthos's crystalline body vibrated with frequencies of pure disbelief. This cannot have happened, he said, his voice breaking into static. Humans cannot do this. Their technology, their military, they are weak. They were never weak, Inquisitor Zalvir said quietly. We were blind. For 1,000 years we were blind. They watched us. They studied us. They learned from us, and we learned nothing from them because we believed them beneath our notice. Scholar Finara's feathers were flat against her body, a sign of terror. What have we created? We pushed them. We mocked them. We thought we were teaching them humility. What did we actually teach them? They learned how to hate, said another delegate. No, worse, they learned how to wait. In the council chamber, fear spread like poison. Every species suddenly realized the same thing. The Kryn were the strongest military power in the galaxy, and humans had destroyed them in 6 hours. If the Kryn were not safe, then nobody was safe. What do we do? Someone asked. Velthos had no answer. For the first time in his 300-year life, the High Arbiter felt afraid. On Earth, in a secret command center deep beneath New Beijing, Director Park Ji-woo watched holographic recordings of the battle. She was ancient now, kept alive by medical technology waiting for this moment.